I want to share one of the coolest, most interruptive, uncomfortable coaching techniques I could ever share. This is something called a psychological disrupt. And I have been assigned at one of our client sites to coach somebody. And I want to be very careful with the way I describe it because I have a lot of clients like this. And I think every organization has people who are resistant to change. They've got that button on their body. When you ask them to do something, yeah, but comes out really, really quick. So I've been asked to coach this person, and every time we meet, and I actually nickname people like this, yeah, but Bob. Yeah, but comes out of Bob's mouth so quick. And you could literally say, Bob, I think you're a good looking guy. Yeah, but I could be a lot better looking. They just want to just push back, whatever the foundation is. So I had about 4 or 5 conversations, and I was coaching this person, and it just kept occurring and occurring and occurring. So finally, I did something very unique. Now, this is not recommended to do on a first or second or even a third coaching session. Now, I was very comfortable, and this person is a great person. This is a person who does truly want to get better, yet there's just this pattern, there's this cadence, there's this sequence of negating what other people say, fighting change, resistant to feedback. It's just a knee-jerk reaction. I think it's an impulse. Now, what I did, and I went to the client's HR person who I report to on this project, and I said, look, I want some latitude. I'm going to do something very unique, and I want your permission to do it. And it's called a psychological disrupt. So I ended up explaining it to her, and she said, sure. So every time he did that, I would either sit back and fold my arms and see if he would stop, and he didn't. So I got to my last resort of my my disrupt set of strategies, and I got up and I walked out of the room. And then I walked back in 30 seconds later, and I looked at him. I said, go ahead, keep going. And he looked at me. He said, well, that was weird. Kept going. And he started talking about why this change wasn't possible. I got up and I walked out and I came back. He said, why do you keep doing that? And he got really frustrated. And I said, I'm just praying you're going to come up with one thought that's positive that will embrace what we're trying to do. I'm just tired, man. And he looked at me and he said, what do you mean? I go, not some of the time, every time I bring something up, what do you think your reaction is? And I said, I'm okay if you don't know. And he said, well, I'm trying to have the discussion. I said, I'm not having a discussion. You're dictating to me why you're just not going to do it. He said, that's not what I'm trying to do. I said, let me be candid. That's exactly what you're doing. You have said, yeah, but 7 times in this meeting. And I turn around a piece of paper and I show it to him with slash marks. I said, I just want to not listen to it. So I just wanted to leave. I just got up and walked out. For the next 20 minutes, we had the most thoughtful conversation. So at the end, I said, look, what I did before is rude. It's obnoxious. It's not great coaching, is it? He said, no. He said, it got me thinking. He said, I didn't know I was doing that. I said, really? He said, well, I've got a lot of stuff on my plate. I said, awesome. Let's put the stuff on your plate over on the shelf. So the next technique is put it on the shelf. Get this out of your mind just for now. I know you have a lot going on. Honestly, when you look at these suggestions of what's being made, where change is needed, honestly, how do you think this will help the organization? Verbatim, he said, there's no doubt it's going to help. There's no doubt. I'm not trying to fight the change. I'm fighting my ability to commit to the change and follow through because of my workload. I said, so those are 2 different things. He said, absolutely. And I said, awesome. Do you know the perception? So remember, he said, that wasn't my intent. I said, but do you know the perception was that you were fighting everything and that you are fighting everything? He said, Really? And I said, those two are not exclusive from each other in people's minds. All they're doing is labeling, saying, you're just resistant, you're negative, you never want to try anything new. He said, wow. Now, let's go back to the beginning. I got up and walked out of a room while someone was talking. Now, we don't teach this, by the way, but it goes to our ability to coach and to do things different, to give people different perspective. I got permission, so there wasn't any political landmines. And then when I did it the second time, he said, why do you keep doing that? And I eventually introduced him to this thing called a psychological interrupt. I'm going to interrupt your pattern of behavior. Now, a psychological interrupt interrupts people's patterns of behavior. So when you get a cold caller at your home, what does somebody do? They'll say, Tim, and you go, yeah, now you can't screen the call. So when people do that at my home and someone says, how you doing today? What they really want you to do is say, fine, so they can get to their sales pitch. What I do when I get that question, I'll say, well, actually not good. My back went out yesterday. I just got to the phone. I've been crawling on the floor for like 12 hours. If you hear a siren in the background, they're probably going to take me to the hospital and put me into traction. But what can I do for you? Everybody, there is silence on the other end of the phone. What did I do? I interrupted what he expected. That's just like the conversations we have in the workplace. John, how are you? Fine. Did you have a good weekend? Yep. Now, if I go up to John and say, John, what did you do that was extraordinarily really different this weekend? And what did you do with your kids that would really get someone smiling? Those prompt different responses. That interrupts the normal course of interaction. That's exactly what I did with this person. I got up and walked out. And the second time, he finally said, I'm not against the change. I'm not against what's being suggested. I just have a heavy workload. So I had to get him to separate those two things. So I used the second technique is, let's put your workload on the shelf. I want to get to that. We're going to pull it off. We're not going to leave it there. And that's a visualization technique, getting them to think a little bit differently about the situation. He has been fantastic helping with the change. We also coached him to get some of his stuff off his plate. His workload was very heavy. Wasn't against change. He was against the change as related to his ability to commit to it. Yet, that's how we label people. I hope this helps.